Did you know 1 in 10 homes in Utah are contaminated with methamphetamines? Do you think your home might be contaminated with meth and you want to find out how to test for it? Well, today we're going to talk about the warning signs of methamphetamine contamination, how you can find out through a fairly simple test and a really accurate one if your home is contaminated with meth. Hello everybody, my name is Chris. I'm with the Utah real estate market. I'm providing as much valuable information as possible to my followers so they can be informed when it comes to real estate information, real estate purchases, where you can find the best deals and the best homes. It doesn't matter if you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, reach out to me by text, email, phone call. However, we'd like to be your go-to source when it comes to all things real estate in the state of Utah. So if you're thinking about making a move to the area, feel free to reach out to me. All my information is down below. I'd love to chat with you. So with that being said, thank you for joining me on today's video. We're going to talk about methamphetamine contamination and what it means for you, how easy it is to test for methamphetamine contamination in your home, and why you need to do it. Even on new construction homes, I'm going to tell you why it might be important to test for that. Appreciate you joining me on today's video. If you're getting any information out of these videos, remember hit that like and subscribe button so we can get this information out to as many people as possible. And we're going to go over all the warning signs, things to look out for, give you some helpful tips how to test for meth, show you how to do a meth test, show you some of the warning signs. If you do test for meth, I'm going to show you how to read the report. I'm going to show you where you can get a free kit. I'm going to also show you where you can turn that kit in to have it tested, and not just tell you whether you're positive or negative for meth, which a lot of the tests you get online will do, but it's going to tell you what level of meth contamination you have in your home. If you have just a little bit, it's nothing to worry about, right? Maybe somebody smoked a joint that was laced with some meth or something one time in the basement a long time ago. That air got circulated around the house and it's very low level. It's really nothing to worry about. But I'll tell you a story. I had a little old lady we bought a house from, and I told her we wanted to do a meth test, and she was kind of offended. And that test came back positive. And she could not believe it. We showed her the meth test, and she just said, absolutely no way. I've never done drugs in my whole life. And we started asking her a few questions, and she said, well, I did have my grandson live with me for a couple of years, and he had lots of friends come over. But it turns out they were smoking marijuana cigarettes laced with methamphetamines in the basement. Now, how could that get all over the whole house? Well, it gets into the return air system of the heat ducts, and it spreads it throughout the whole house without her even knowing about it. And pretty soon it contaminates the whole house. So too bad for this little old lady, but she had meth contamination and she didn't even know about it. So even on brand new construction homes, if you get some workers in there that are smoking something they shouldn't be smoking when the house is all sealed up, just about ready to go, as long as that HVAC system is running and it's recirculating the air throughout the whole house, even that can be contaminated and ruin the whole house. So different levels are something that you need to know about and maybe be concerned about, maybe not be concerned about. But during my course of time over the last 20 years, I've bought and sold and rehabbed over 400 different properties. And out of those 400 properties, I think I've run into about 14 that had some level of meth contamination. In the beginning stages of my career of rehabbing homes, I did not test for meth. I wish I would have, because one of the homes we went in and we repainted, all new carpet, new cabinets, new tile, new everything, and then the people that had it under contract wanted to test for meth. We told them everything's been changed, everything's been upgraded and changed out and painted, and so there's no way there's going to be any meth in here. Well, they tested the ducts, tested the walls, and guess what? That meth test came back positive. We had to rip everything out and start over. That was a very painful lesson to learn. So ever since that point on, about 14, 15 years ago, I test every home I buy for meth, and that way I know what I'm dealing with, right? And I know the level of contamination I have. And also I can present that report to people when they go to buy the house and say, look, this house doesn't have meth contamination, here's the report. Gives them a little extra peace of mind. So testing for meth is an important thing to do, and today we're going to talk about how to do it the proper way so that you can get the information you need to make sure that you're not living in a contaminated home that might have bad effects for you or your children and your health. So thanks for sticking around today and watching this video with me. If you're getting any information out of these videos, remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps me get this information out to as many people as possible. And when it comes to meth contamination, there's a lot of people that really need to know the truth about what's going on and how to test for meth. Now, you can hire a home inspector. He's going to charge you $200 or $300 or $400 to test for meth. In some instances, if it tests positive, they're going to have to report you to the state health department, and then you're going to open a whole new can of worms. Different counties have different reporting requirements, so check what county you live in and find out. But if you test for meth yourself, I'm going to give you some tips on what levels you need to be worried about and how to clean that up if it's really a pretty low level. You can clean that up yourself. There are some methods and ways that you can get that taken care of, companies that specialize in meth contamination. And you can do it inexpensively if you know what you're doing, but simple vinegar or Clorox, rubbing it on the walls, is not the answer. That's not strong enough. That's not going to take care of the meth problem. So with that being said, let's get after today's video and get right into it with all the things you need to know about meth contamination in your home. So first of all, there are several warning signs you need to watch out for. Smell is one of the warning signs. If you walk into a home that you're thinking about buying, or a vacation rental or something like that, and it has a weird chemical odor smell to it, you're right to be a little bit concerned. That's probably the first telltale sign that there might be some type of contamination in that home. Could be mold. Mold has a smell to it as well, but once you've been in a meth home, you can really tell. I spent 2 or 3 minutes in a really contaminated home once, and I got pretty sick from it, just from that. And it affected my breathing for the next 2 or 3 weeks, only being in there, because those levels were sky high. They were over 200, which I'll explain in a little bit, the levels for meth, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. But 200 is 200 times the maximum limit. Here in the state of Utah, it's 1 is the maximum limit. So smell is the first thing that you should watch out for when it comes to meth contamination. The next thing you can watch out for is damage to the home. If you see a bunch of walls that are kicked in with holes in them from either knees or feet or people punching them, if you see broken doors, if you see lots of signs of anger, things like that, people that are on meth can go into fits of rage. And often they take it out on the doors or on the walls and the drywall. So when I walk into a home and I see a bunch of broken doors or doors with holes in them, or walls that have holes in them from punching or from kicking, things like that, that to me is a telltale sign that there may be some meth contamination there. So that's another sign you can watch out for. The next sign you should watch out for is dirty walls and dirty carpets. So everybody has dirty carpets when they're old and things like that, and hopefully people vacuum them and clean them every once in a while. But when you find a meth contaminated home, there's going to be an extra level of residue on the walls and on the light sockets and on the outlets and on the air ducts and on the carpet, because the carpet just acts as a collector, and it's going to collect all that smoke and residue from the meth that they're doing. So if things seem excessively dirty to you, or maybe they've moved the bed out and now you've got a really clean spot where the bed was, but all around the bed it seems excessively dirty to you, that's another telltale sign that you need to have that house tested for meth. Me personally, I test every house for meth, because like I told you in my story, even the little old lady's home, you never know when it might be contaminated with methamphetamine. So maybe she moved in, been there, living there for 10 years, but the people before her were smoking meth. You just never know. So in my opinion, test everything for meth, and that way you'll know. So this is a meth test kit. Everything you need to test for meth is in here. This comes from a company called ALS in Salt Lake. They'll give these kits out to you free, as many as you want. Now you get this kit and just follow the instructions that are in here. It's going to have some gloves in here to protect your hands. It's going to have a vial of methanol in here that you put on a cotton swab or a gauze that you rub on the walls, and then you send that into the lab, and that's going to be the reactive agent to help you know if there's meth found. This is the gauze pad that you put the methanol on. You're going to test 4 areas of your home with this little square here. And when you test it, you want to go in Z pattern this way and this way. Once each way, covering the entire surface area of this 4-inch by 4-inch area. I'm also going to show you the best places to test for meth. The full instructions come with it, and on the back you fill out the information of where you took the samples, and you just turn it into them. You can mail it to them, or you can drop it off, and you can even get a rush order job done. It's going to take a couple days, and they'll have that test back to you with the samples. They'll just email you the results. Also, you can just do normal. I think it takes 5 days to get those test results back. The cost for the rush service, I think, is around $120. I think the regular cost for 5-6 days wait is about $80. So it's a really affordable test, and they're going to give you the exact levels of what to watch out for. I have several meth reports here that we're going to go over, and I'm going to show you how to read that meth report and tell you what the sample size is that you should be worried about and what the sample size is that you should be worried about. You don't have to worry about doing any cleanup whatsoever. So after you rub that on the gauze, you're going to take it and put it in here. You're going to label this vial with your name, phone number, maybe the address, and then you're going to put everything back in this bag with your name and phone number, the address on it, and you're going to take it to ALS, and then they're going to take some information down from you. They don't do any reporting to the state or the county, so you don't have to worry about that. Your privacy is going to be kept, and this way you can find out, you know, what you're dealing with without going through a home inspector. And some home inspectors are required to report to the county if they find methamphetamine contamination over a certain level. Now, over a certain level, you really do want to get that taken care of, because it can be very dangerous. So after all that, in your house test for meth, I'm going to tell you about what some of the remedies you can use to fix the meth contamination, at what level you need to worry about it and what level you don't need to worry about it, and some of the easiest ways you can remedy the problem. All right, without further ado, let's go to a property and do a meth test, and I'll show you how to accurately do the swab and all the steps you need to do to conduct a meth test, and the best places to test for meth, because you can't just test anywhere. You got to test where the methamphetamine is going to be most present. So let's go and do that right now. Okay, this is your meth test kit. Like we talked about before, this comes from ALS Labs. They're free. You can get as many as you want in Salt Lake. I'll give you all the information, the phone number, the address, everything you need to pick up your own tests. So in here, you're going to have the 4x4 square, the gauze pad, the gloves, the vial with the methanol in it, and the vial for the test kit. So the 4 places you should test for meth. The first one's going to be your return air vent. Find a dirty return air vent. Doesn't matter if there's a bunch of gunk on it or whatever. The test can differentiate between just plain dirt and methamphetamine contamination. Put your gloves on. Get your gauze pad, get your methanol. You're going to fold this gauze pad into 4. So it goes down to about 1 inch by inch. You take the methanol, you're going to soak the gauze pad all the way through with that methanol. You take your 4x4 square, you're going to hold that over the vent, and you're going to rub in a Z pattern. No more, no less than that 4x4 square. So rub it both directions. Now you're going to take that. Next you're going to use a different side. You're going to find the dirtiest room in the home. You're going to put that on the wall. If you put some tape on it, sometimes it helps, but I've done this so many times, I'm used to holding it. A different side than you just used. You're going to do a Z pattern. Horizontal and then vertical. And you're going to see that wall is going to come a little bit cleaner. So now you've got two sides done. You're going to take that and you're going to open it, flip it over, and you use side number 3 and side number 4. The next area you're going to do is around a light switch. Find the dirtiest light switch in the house, and again, with one of the clean sides, do your Z pattern. Horizontal and then vertical. Now you've got 3 sides done. You've got 1 side left. Now I'll show you the most important place that you could test and should test when you're doing a meth test in any home. Okay, you've got 1 side left, right? We've folded it in 4 different ways. The most important place you want to test for meth is in the furnace. So you take the doors off the furnace. You have 1 clean spot left on your gauze pad. You have your 4x4 square. Now you can test the door. That's a pretty good spot. And do your horizontal and vertical. But what I like to do is test on the inside of the furnace. I think that's a little bit more accurate. So you're going to take that and you're going to rub it horizontally and then vertically. Only once each direction. Doesn't matter how dirty it is. Now after that, you're going to take this gauze, you're going to open up your tube, you're just going to push it in the tube like that. You're going to take your information, you're going to write your name and your phone number. And you can put the address if you want, but name and phone number is really all you need on there. Then we're going to put it back in the bag. We're going to fill out the information on the ALS form, and we're going to either mail it to them or we're going to drop it off to them. They are in Salt Lake City. I'll give a map and an address down here below in the comments as well, and a phone number. Remember, you can pick up as many free test kits as you want. You can either do a rush service or you can do another service that takes about 5 days. And they'll get back to you. So depending on how quickly you need it. Okay, now let's go over some of these tests that I can show you for an example of how to read some of these analytical reports after you get your meth test back, after you do the testing. So if you see here on my screen, this is one that we did a few years ago. It just says furnace return error. This is after we tested 4 areas in the home, and it came back positive, but the ultimate result is the one that you want to look right here. So in the state of Utah, the maximum allowable limit is 1.00. It's actually stricter than California. California, I believe, is 1.50, unless they've changed it in the last couple of years. But the state of Utah is 1.00. A number of years ago, we had a real bad meth problem in Utah, and we wanted to crack down on it. So we set our standards pretty low so that we could get rid of a lot of these meth labs, and it certainly has helped. There's a lot fewer, not just meth labs in homes, but meth contamination in homes. There's fewer people smoking meth in Utah, and so therefore the problem has gotten better, but it certainly hasn't gone away yet. So as you can see here, this came in at less than 1.00, and so it needed some minor cleanup, but really nothing too bad. And I'm going to go into also some of the product you can use to clean up if your home does test positive for meth. So let's take a look at a couple other ones that were a little bit worse. So this was a property going through a divorce a few years ago. They called us in to help them sell the place, but the man who's getting divorced said that his wife had a lot of friends over and they were smoking a lot in the basement and things, and he wanted to know exactly what level of contamination was in the home. So we ordered meth tests for each part of the house. So you can do the overall house and find out what the level is in the overall house, but definitely a more accurate way to do it would be room by room, and so that's what we did here, and that's why these are all labeled as different areas. So you can see pretty much all of them tested positive, but if you look here in the great room, it's 5.3. Certainly came in a lot higher in that room, so they were obviously smoking fairly heavily in there. And then some of these other rooms, 1.2, 1.0. So you can get a feel for where the worst contamination is, and that will help somebody when they're remediating so that they can hit those rooms a little bit heavier. Then after they remediate, they go in and retest every single room again, exactly the way they did the first time. So that gives you an idea of what some of the levels can be. So some important information to know. What kind of testing is permitted? If you see here on this website, it talks about what is allowed. So current law allows homeowners or their representative or a state certified inspector to test your house for meth. It's very important. A state certified inspector has to report the results to the health department if over the legal limit. The health department will condemn your house if the meth is over the legal limit. If a homeowner or their representative gets a result back over the legal limit, they do not need to report this to the health department. There's a big difference there. So if you do the testing yourself, you obviously don't have to report it to the health department. Now, keep in mind, I am not an attorney and I'm not giving legal advice, so you should check the laws in your county and your area to find out what the specific rules are, and because they do change. So if the results are 1.0 parts per million or the meth per 10 centimeters or above, the seller has to disclose to the buyer that the house tests positive for meth. So when you go to sell your home, there's going to be some questions on the seller disclosure paperwork. It's going to ask if this house has ever tested positive for meth. If it has tested positive and you've remediated it, I believe you can say there's no meth present, and you don't have to fully disclose everything, and that may have changed in the last couple of years, so you need to check your local regulations. The best solution when you're selling your home is always disclose, disclose, disclose. So if it's tested positive for meth, I would produce the meth test result so they could see how much it was, and then after you do the cleanup, I would do another meth test and show them that here's the second meth test result after we did the cleanup, and everything is all good now, so you don't have to worry about it. If you do that, in my experience, after selling several meth homes, that people are fine with it, but they do want to see a negative test result after it's been cleaned up. So you can clean those up yourself. So what is 1 part per million? How much of it? To give you an idea, 1 part per million is 1 inch in 16 miles. It's 1 penny in $10,000. Let's see. It's a 1 gram needle in a ton of hay. It's 1 drop of water water diluted in a fuel tank of a compact car. It's 32 seconds out of a year. So 1 part per million in that little square area is really quite small. So that's why I say that 1.00 limit in the state of Utah is really strict, right? So if it's over that, you probably want to clean it up, but it's really probably not going to hurt you. But if it was my home, I would have it cleaned up. So what can you do to clean it up if it tests positive? So the company I've used in the past is ALS Environmental. So they sell meth remover. They give you all the instructions on how to use this. And also what you're going to want to do is hire a certified contractor that is familiar with meth cleanup to go in and clean your furnace and clean all your ductwork. They will take your furnace apart, they'll take your fan out, they'll put this meth remover solution in it and in all your ductwork, because you don't want to be spreading that throughout the air throughout your home. They'll clean all your vents, they'll clean your return air, or you can just throw the return air vents away and buy new ones. It's probably cheaper to do that. And they'll scrub your walls, they'll scrub your ceiling, they'll often fog the whole house, and then you can replace your carpet and things like that. And that's probably going to be for like meth that's 4.0 or higher in my experience. If you get meth levels down, 2.0 or less, it's relatively easy and inexpensive to clean up yourself. If you're trying to do it yourself, I would recommend watching some videos on how people clean up meth, getting some meth remover like this, because using Clorox, bleach, or just vinegar and water and things like that are just not going to be strong enough to deactivate the meth contaminants. Usually it's on the walls and the ceiling and in the ductwork is the biggest issue. And then you can also use this as a negotiating tool. So if you're doing your home inspection and that house comes back test positive for meth, typical costs average about $6,000 to $8,000 for your average meth home that's 4.0 or less. Depends on the size of the home and how much work they have to do. A low-level cleanup is probably going to be around $2,000 or $3,000, plus to replace the carpet. I would definitely recommend replacing the carpet and cleaning all the walls and the ductwork as a minimum. And you can use that in your negotiating power. So if you come back after a home inspection, you say, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in buying your home at the current price we have it for under contract because your home tested for meth." People generally freak out when they realize that they have meth contamination in their home, because now their home is stigmatized and they're going to have to report it to any other buyers that come and might be interested in buying that property. So you can actually get some quotes from people to clean up that meth contamination, and then you could go back and say, okay, we want you to pay for the cleanup of the meth, and then we want new carpet, and you may want some other things, and most likely 9 times out of 10 they're going to agree to those things because they do not want to deal with the meth. So if you find a meth home and it tests positive, don't run away from it, don't be scared of it. It's something that happens about 10% of the time, and if you have an agent that knows what he's doing and is familiar with this stuff, that's why I highly recommend you get a buyer's agent that has experience, someone that is going to have your back and know what to do if the house meth tests come back positive. So don't be too scared of it. So ALS Environmental, you can order their kits, you can do it yourself, you can get a fog machine, it's a couple $100, it atomizes this product, and you can actually put it down your ductwork yourself, and you can squeegee the walls and scrub the wall. It is quite a bit of work. I've cleaned up several meth homes ourselves that weren't real high, and then when we went back and tested them, they probably tested cleaner than a regular house, because every wall and every square inch of that home is scrubbed and everything is cleaned out very well. So don't be afraid to try it yourself, but certainly wear the proper masks and suits and take the proper precautions when you're dealing with any amount of meth. Okay, now you got your vial with your name and your phone number on it. You put it in the bag, put your name and your phone number on the bag. Take this form, it's analytical request form. Gives you instructions on the back on how to use it if you happen to forget. Pretty easy. You can watch other videos as well, but I think this video is unbiased but the best. Fill that out, put it in the bag, send it off to ALS, give them your payment, and then just a few days later you'll find out what the results of your meth test are.